Introducing the all-new Corolla.
Among the conclusions in the report that led to Babuta's resignation is that he directed the award of 2 Office of Insular Affairs grants to the University of Guam to support the Micronesian Center for a Sustainable Future, against the advice of his staff and grant specialists. In a live interview this morning with K57's Patty Arroyo, Babuta defended the grant award to UOG.
You can't address the migration problem within the FAS unless you address a problem with economic development in the FAS and also capacity within their government. And that was one of the goals of the Micronesian Center for a Sustainable Future, which is to try to plan out a sustainable future where you're growing the economy, you're creating jobs, because you create those jobs and it causes people to stay, and they're not migrating out.
The IG report also notes that both grants went to Babuta's former employer, UOG President Dr. Robert Underwood, and that Babuta's friend was hired as the project coordinator, who, the report says, spent more than $32,000 in grant funds on unallowable expenses, many of which were of personal benefit.
But the fact that there was an unallowable expense, I don't think is purely unique. It's certainly highlighted in this case because it's part of an investigation that swirls around me, but it's not a unique situation. I think there are times where some of the grant people on the interior side would call folks and say, you spent that money, you weren't supposed to spend it, we're disallowing the cost, you have to eat it somehow.
And while the report found no evidence that Babuta used government travel for personal gain, it did conclude that there were certain trips for government business in which he appeared to benefit personally.
When the investigators asked me about, are you doing a good job because you're trying to set yourself up to run for political office, my response was, I'm doing a good job because if I don't do a good job and I want to seek a political office, I don't want people to say, well, he did a bad job when he was there. I mean, you want to do a good job in whatever you're doing, and that's what I tried to do.
The Inspector General also concluded that Babuta made inappropriate comments to employees and conducted himself unprofessionally at times.
I think I dropped my guard. I felt more comfortable with talking to some staff versus others, joking around with some staff more than others, and I think it was just a matter of me dropping my guard. I didn't harass any one of my employees, and I was happy to see that in the report that none of them felt that I was harassing them.
And the report goes into detail about several trips that Babuta took with a former girlfriend to the Virgin Islands, to Arkansas, and to New Orleans.
But I think those sorts of trips, they were tied to official events that I was going to. There were no government resources used to have anyone accompany me any place. The travel just happened.
Babuta acknowledged some mistakes in judgment and some of the revelations he called embarrassing.
I like to think that it didn't get to my head. I mean, I understand, where those mistakes were made in judgment. There are things in there that are, of course, personally embarrassing to me and my family, and I apologize to all of them for it.
However, Babuta points out that the report makes no mention of what was accomplished during his tenure.
I feel like I can be proud of the work that I did. I think I made a difference. I was very happy to hear that GPA is going to put up the windmill. I was very happy to hear that UOG's solar panels are now online. I'm very happy to hear about Simon Sanchez school students organizing and demanding change and repairs of their school, which was part of the report that we initiated. I don't know that I've ever thought if I've been betrayed. I have sat around and for many hours and many days and many weeks thinking about all the official actions that I took and whether or not they were the right ones to take. And I think after that exercise, trying to remember every action, every interaction that I had, I'm comfortable with what I did.
Kevin Kerrigan, PNC News.